Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and we're reading Saturnastra Melina. This is chapter 6, the Unveiling ceremony. During the reign of Versame, religious observation was critical to the welfare of the state, and due to the current fragmentation, religious ordinances had grown rather lax, and maintaining proper rituals was seen as having a direct effect on the cosmos. For example, if the code of Bautista was neglected, then the farmers from all over the kingdom were said to have a bad harvest. And each god had a profession tied to his name, and the cult of Mio was especially dominant in Sassari. And Mio was the goddess of love and baser desires, and just like the farmer, the courtesans were tasked with giving Mio her proper worship. And since Melina was an unpledged courtesan, no one expected her to observe the rituals of Mio. And as was tradition with all new courtesans, Melina was said to be pledged after living in the Danes' pavilion for 2 years. And a few days before the unveiling ceremony, Imperia had called her to explain to Melina her new responsibilities. And normally Imperia sent for Melina. This time she went to find her directly. And Melina was sitting in a divan facing the lake, and she was having tea with two other young courtesans. And one was Imperia's very own Lucrecia la Divina, age 13. And the other maiden was Lucio Wagner, age 17. And Lucio was unpledged like Melina, and Lucrecia was pledged. However, her mother had kept her from participating on the second half of the ceremony, and this deviation was a bit unusual and the cause of great consternation among the other courtesans that had been forced to suffer through the complete ritual. Imperia stopped a moment to look at her daughter, and she frowned when she noticed that Lucrecia was wearing one of Melina's queer attires. And Lucrecia was wearing a white dress with a short sleeve, and it did not come with a corsage, and it had a ribbon tied under her chest, and it was a comfortable, seemingly plain dress made of silk. And for Lucrecia, it was a welcome relief from the restricted corsets and the hot extravagant dresses. And Melina's dress was soft pink, and Veronica was wearing a cyan-colored dress. And when Lucrecia saw her mother, her lower lip trembled a little, and Imperia pretended not to notice. And Lucrecia said, "Hello, Mama. Look at the pretty dress Lady Melina made for me." Imperia rubbed her finger on Lucrecia's sleeve before saying, "It certainly is fine. What is this material? Silk?" "Yes, Mama," said Lucrecia. "Silk is hard to find," said Imperia, facing Melina. "And pray do tell me, how do you acquire your silk?" "From silkworms," said Melina plainly. "Silkworms, So silk is made using worms, And I was told silk was made using especially refined cotton," said Imperia, sitting down in an empty chair. "If I may be so bold, my lady," said Veronica, "you should not believe everything you are told." "Are you calling me a liar then?" said Melina, sitting up. "No, it is just that you make it very hard for people to believe you," said Lucrecia, excusing Veronica. Is it still running?
Yeah, it was just...
It's fine, said Melina, yawning, and based on her black eyes, it was assumed that Melina was angry. "The dresses are certainly unusual still. It's never too late to start a new fashion trend, and in my day, women wore long veils to hide their hair, and other noble women wore elegant crowns in their heads, and the dresses were less bulbous and more oversimplified," explained Imperia. Lucrecia frowned and looked up, and she did this whenever she was trying to picture something. She went, Lucrecia then asked, "Why the head covering?" "It was considered immodest for a woman to show her hair in public," explained Imperia. "But what is so immodest about hair? I mean, it's just hair," exclaimed Veronica. Imperia was about to say something, but she chose to remain silent, and when Melina said to Veronica, "In Imperia's time, people thought a woman's hair was sinful, and today they complain about showing too much elbow or ankles or whatever. The point is that you should not take the concept of modesty too seriously." "I truly do wish you would not address Mama in so informally, Melina," said Lucrecia, chastising her friend. "Forgive me for upsetting you, Lucrecia. I only do so out of habit, and I mean no disrespect, and your mother is one of the few humans whom I truly respect and admire," said Melina, looking at Lucrecia in the eyes. And Melina was not of the habit of making eye contact when she spoke, and this was one of the many unladylike habits, and it was only on rare times when she spoke in earnest that she bothered to look at someone in the face. The girls were silent for a time, and Imperia took that moment of silence to say her piece. "Lucrecia, Veronica, I want to speak to Melina alone for a little bit. Go play somewhere else." what do you want to talk to her, Mama? Asked Lucrezia, getting up. Lucrezia, said Impede, smiling. Fine, said Lucrezia, leaving, and Veronica followed along. And when they were gone, Imperia said directly, in a couple of days you will be indoctrinated into the cult of Mio, and the time depends on the conditions of the road, since the ceremony is going to be done by the high priest of Veragerum. So I heard, and finally has been drilling into my head all of the known facts about the ceremony and how I'm supposed to behave, said Melina, looking towards the lake. There is a second part of the ceremony that only pledge members know about, said Imperia. Ah yes, the so-called unveiling ceremony. Is that what the high priest flowers the initiative? You surprise me, Melina, said Imperia, surprised, and the Sassari and the clergy of a cult has become corrupted, and they no longer preach the gospel of love, which was the core of the foundation of the heart of Mio, and I totally wish we could have the unveiling ceremony like yonder times. I will be happy to indulge your sense of nostalgia, said Melina, smiling. And her hand absentmindedly reached for her teacup, and she moistened her lips with its tea, but she didn't drink it. This isn't something to be taken lightly, Melina, and if not done correctly, it will be Melia who will be invoked and not her sister Mio, explained Imperia. I know that there's no way for either the high priest or the followers to tell the difference between Melia and Mio, said Melina. I wonder. And from the pair of divinities, both made it seem like the hardest ones to tell apart. Because, like, one is the goddess of love and the other one's the of hate. So, but you don't know, but if you mess up the ritual, you summon the bad one. Perhaps both goddesses are one and the same, suggested Melina. I hope not. Just thinking about it brings me great displeasure, said Imperia, shifting in her seat. I don't see why they should accept you. It makes sound more, and it makes for more three-dimensional character, don't you think, said Melina, yawning. Melina, I sometimes have no idea what you're talking about, said Imperia. Nor should you. There's still the matter of the high priest, and at that he could be dissuaded from participating, and if all else fails, I am willing to bite the bullet for the cause, and we can still do the other ceremony when he leaves, said Melina, condescending. Imperia was silent for the moment, and she got up and paced a bit, and Melina watched her with disdain, and she then drew near Melina and whispered something in her ear. And Melina sneered and nodded in response, and her eyes turned light brown, a color not common for nymphs. And the following day, Imperia sent letters to the high priest with a new arrangement. And the high priest was Sir William Hollow, and he had inherited his position from his father, and he was already pushing 70, and he was still performing his priestly duties. And he was always putting on pressure on the concubines and prostitutes to have their daughters pledged as soon as possible, and most of these desperate ladies complied since their intellect was ruled by silly superstition. And Imperia was different, however, and having her daughter unpledged was an open confrontation to Sir William's dogma. And the opening ceremony took place in the garden. Oh, no, let's drink some water. There was a makeshift altar in the woods within the decorative forest, and each maiden assembled there held a torch in their hand. And there were white robes and garlands of flowers on their head, and behind the altar there was a tent with large white curtains. Lucrezia took the first rite by drinking wine and honey, and she made her vows to the high priest, and he kissed her on the forehead, and thus Lucrezia was ritually married to the high priest. And the unveiling ceremony was done in a room apart, and instead of being greeted by Lucrezia, Sir William was greeted by Melina. And Melina was not even trying to disguise her voice, and her eyes were fiery red, yet Sir William could not tell the difference. And to prevent any mayhap, the ceremony had been observed by 4 knights, and one of them was Garrett, the knight who had bought Melina, and he grimly wondered if Imperia was going to get away with the hoax. And the other knights had their doubts, and they were taken aback when Sir William removed Melina's veil and said, "My, what a pretty child you are, my succulent Lucrezia." So that basically the unveiling ritual was supposed to be done on the princess of Lucrezia, but Melina took her place so that the queen wouldn't have her little princess child deflowered by a creepy cultist priest. I know, my dear Willie, said Melina, and she was lightly clothed in white robes, and her blonde hair had been braided and was decorated with garlands of flowers. And Gareth fiddled a bit with the handle of his sword, and one of the knights nearest to him shook his head with disapproval. And Gareth's vision went red, and yet he stayed rooted in place, and he would not dare make a a move, and the ceremony only lasted minutes, but to Gareth it felt like an eternity. And while it progressed, Gareth thought he saw Melina mouth the word coward while looking at him. And after 7 minutes, Melina was getting dressed again, and Sir William was panting, and his wrinkled face was red like an apple. "Is that all?" said Melina with disdain. "I am surprised the old fire could even work up the energy for one round, and it is no wonder that he prefers virgin if this is all the energy he can muster." Staggering to get out, Sir William said, "Shut your mouth, Melina removed the veil to enter the courtyard, and all of the courtesans assembled were surprised to see Melina instead of Lucrezia. And Melina said in a thunderous voice, "I have seen your goddess meal, and she is greatly displeased by the sacrifice you offer, and she grows weary of empty rituals, aromas, and scented candles, and poor virgins. And if you truly wish the blessing of the love goddess, spread the gospel of love, and give love, and receive love." And turning to Sir William, Melina said, "And this man has sinned against the goddess, and he has behind meal stitches to inspire hatred in the hearts of honest women, and for his crime he is being punished even as I speak. And behold the miraculous power of the goddess meal." And while Melina said this, Gareth saw something he could not explain, and Sir William convulsed and foamed through the mouth, and his body kept turning red by the second, and suddenly his body twisted at an angle and spread, and when he did this, pores bled all over, and the people there at first thought Melina had casted a spell on him, and there would be no change when Sir William's body turned into a patch of red anemone flowers. And the crowd of women attending the ceremony gathered around the patch of anemones, and the nearest one to Melina exclaimed, "By the gods, Melina, what did you do to the priest?" "Weren't you listening? It was the goddess Mio who punished the blasphemous Sir William. This used to be an old woman's cult, and men had no business interfering in Mio's affair," explained Melina. And Gareth walked out to Melina and asked, "But why did it take so long for the goddess to instill her righteous punishment?" Melina shrugged her shoulders and said, "Most gods prefer a hands-up approach to the whole religious thing. There are some exceptions to this norm, however. Sadly, this does not apply to your beloved goddess." As was to be expected, Melina was barraged with questions about Mio, and a good chance thought she was either a witch or a prophetess, and the official inquiry was carried out by Gareth and Impede, and neither quite understood the whole metamorphosis that the priest had experienced. And Impede dreaded the possibility that he could be changed back, and once again Melina was sitting in Impede's office, and Impede was sitting before her while Gareth was impatiently pacing. And before Impede could speak, Gareth said, "Melina, what did you do to the high priest? You are among friends, so there's no need to lie. Tell us the truth of what happened." "I am getting tired of telling the same thing over and over again. It was Mio. It wasn't me. I couldn't cast a single spell to save my life," said Melina, looking at Gareth in the face. "Ahem," said Impede, getting ahead of Gareth, "and when I asked you to take care of Sir William, this is not what I had in mind." "Don't play innocent with me," said Melina. "You wanted him dead since the day he stepped foot in your castle." Impede opened her mouth to say something, but then she closed it, and she was at a loss as to how to respond to Melina's accusation. And it was true that she wanted Sir William dead, however, she had never been truly inclined to act upon her desires, due to political reasons. "So how do we handle this situation?" asked Gareth, sitting down. "His family is going to be asking questions. Half the kingdom must know by now." "Not quite. The messengers know when to censor sensitive information, and they will not spread this news without my approval," said Impede, resting her head on her hand, and she added, "And even by land, it will take months before this news reaches the ears of anyone of import." "Can't we just cover it up?" asked Gareth. "Impossible. When a person of such high profile up in vantages, our lords make an inquest, and sooner or later they will find out the truth. No, far too many people saw what happened. I will not put their livelihood in danger by incurring the wrath of His Majesty." "I already said I was planning to bite the bullet," said Melina. "Tell them the exact truth, and I will take full responsibility for what follows." "I would rather you avoid dealing directly with the Lord," said Gareth, "and they tend to be quite temperamental." "That's putting it lightly," said Melina, laughing, and then she added, "On another matter, when are we going to do the true unveiling ceremony?" "At a time like this," said Impede. "Fine, if you're no longer in the mood, we can postpone it or not do it altogether. Frankly, I wasn't too keen on the whole idea of joining your cult anyway, said Melina, reclining on the couch. Alright, so we finished that chapter. Bye-bye and God bless. Alright, there we go. So,